All right, welcome back to. No, I gotta start. I gotta get.
Missing the homies.
Nah, I gotta hit it all in one. Okay. Welcome back to Missin the Homies. This is the show where I bullshit with my homies. This month, welcome back, comic extraordinaire, music putter honor, owner of Third Coast Comics, Mr. Terry Gant. Thank
you very much.
Cheers. And I'm Lightning Lad.
Nice.
I was going back and editing, and the last episode where we were talking about the Justice Society, and I was laughing so hard because there was the same like pause where you were talking about the first Justice Society member to get married.
Yeah.
And
or Legion of Superheroes member. Yeah.
Or Legion of Superheroes. And I was like, Lightning Lad. And I answered at the same time as I answered you on the pod, and it was just like, I think it was like a weird timing thing, and I don't know. I thought it was.
But somehow I think the answer was actually, when we thought about it, was Bouncing Boy and Duo Damsel.
Yeah.
I think. But yeah.
It definitely wasn't Lightning Lad,
Right,
but I just
yeah.
thought it was funny, and I was like, so I've been thinking about Lightning Lad a lot.
That's cool.
But yeah, and I was like, so Dr. Midnight is part of
The JSA.
Okay, he's part of the JSA,
Right.
not the Legion of Superheroes.
Correct. Because he's an adult, right? He's a surgeon. You know what I mean? Like he's from the 40s, not like, the future.
Oh.
Yeah.
Who was part of this? Oh, okay, wait. Then never mind.
The Spectre was in the JSA.
Yes.
Right? They had a Hawkman, they had an Atom, Flash, a Green Lantern. And I say a Flash, a Green Lantern because it's the Golden Age versions of those characters, not the Silver Age version of those characters.
Okay, so oh my gosh. Dr. Midnight.
Yep.
I wanted to say Dr. Spectre. There's so many. There's too many names. So Dr. Midnight.
Yep.
Who was on the team? Who was your favorite iteration with Dr. Midnight on the JSA?
So I think my favorite would be the point at which we got into like the modern era, and we were on the third Dr. Midnight. So there've been other people named Dr. Midnight. We were up to.
So
Peter
Dr.
Cross.
Midnight is a mantle too.
Yeah, it turned out to be, right. Like it wasn't. I guess it wasn't intended to be, but during Crisis on Infinite Earth, you get a second Dr. Midnight who is Yolanda. I forget her last name. I want to say like Yolanda Montez, but I don't think that's really it. She had did not really dig the costume, and she didn't really stick around very long. Mm-hmm. She might have had some appearances in like this Infinity Inc. comic, which was like the next generation of JSA dudes coming up that happened around in the 80s. Mm-hmm. But she didn't get a lot of appearances. She wasn't around long. And then somewhere in the early 2000s, they revealed that there is another Dr. Midnight coming up, and he's a surgeon, he's blind, but he also speaks like 6 languages, and he can crack codes, and he's a super cool dude. Like, is that
the through line with Dr. Midnight that
always got to be blind,
always got to be blind, and always a surgeon?
Usually, yeah. I don't know if the other Dr. Midnight might have been like a nurse or something like that. Yeah, not entirely sure. Maybe she was a doctor. I don't know.
Actual medical. They have to be in the medical field, and they have to be blind.
I think that's true. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And since like they're usually not existing at the same time, it's kind of okay, right? Like look at that shit. You're blind and you're a surgeon, and boy, you have a whole lot of fucking skills, and you're gonna fight crime too. You got to be a Dr. Midnight.
So there
hasn't been one in decades,
Would you say? Okay, so since I'm more Marvel, my background is in Marvel, but obviously your background, you have the touch, you have the knowledge. Your well of knowledge is so deep that what the fuck am I trying to say? Would you say that Dr. Midnight, the Marvel version of Dr. Midnight, would be Daredevil?
I probably wouldn't say that.
Who would be the
only
closest?
Because there are allegories in Marvel to other DC characters. Yes. I don't know that there's an allegory to Dr. Midnight because when people were going to Matt Murdock for legal shit, they weren't going to him for legal shit because he was also Daredevil, right? They didn't know he was Daredevil, and they happened to be hiring Matt Murdock because he was a good lawyer, and then Matt Murdock would be Daredeviling on the side when they hired him, right? They weren't going there. Heroes weren't being like, my masked identity is in legal trouble. I need Daredevil to represent.
Daredevil does not daylight as
Correct. Daredevil's not actually practicing law.
Gotcha.
Right.
Okay.
Matt Murdock is that. So to me, I won't draw a parallel to them just because they're blind. Right.
Gotcha.
There has to be a thing where he gets to use his professional skills as a superhero. Then I would make the distinction. Right. I would be like, oh, now that works then. Right.
Because you said Dr. Midnight is like the JSA's like.
He's the DC Universe's Dr. McCoy, right?
The in-house doctor.
Yeah, yes.
So would you say that Dr. Midnight is closer to a Hank McCoy? Who's the parallel that you would draw?
I wouldn't draw a parallel to anybody. I just wouldn't do it, right? Because Marvel has a lot of geniuses, super geniuses, but that's coming out of the fact that Marvel was a company where everybody was some kind of science hero or science accident. So of course Hank McCoy's a genius, right? Every team had to have one.
Yeah.
You know, every team had it. Some teams had two, right? It wasn't like, you know, if the idea was some hero coming up was an architect, right? Mm-hmm. And your superhero team needed an architect, and so did that superhero team and that superhero team and that superhero team.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that, right? Like it's picking one profession, and you've got to have it on every team because it just felt wrong if you didn't. It kind of became a template after.
Like the X-Men teams and a psychic. Like they have to have a psychic on
it's
each
just
team.
a template. It's just a template at some point.
Gotcha.
Right? Whereas DC teams aren't built that way. DC teams are built to tell stories about the interplay between these characters, regardless of whatever the template may be. Now, your Justice League of America may have throughout the years always had a combination of Superman, Batman, or Wonder Woman on it, right? But then in the Avengers, Captain America, Thor, and Iron Man, some combination of them were always in the Avengers as well.
Yeah.
Right? But outside of that, everybody else in the Justice League, who the hell knows who they were going to be?
Yeah.
Right? You know, you may have had the Flash, you may have had a Speedster, you might not have.
Oh, okay. So the
always a guarantee. You know?
So is the JSA less less definitive than the Avengers? Because the
the best way to think about the JSA for their best iteration would have been they were a team who decided it was someone's responsibility to train the next generation of heroes coming up, right?
Gotcha.
And occasionally this does happen at Marvel too, but it doesn't really stick. Like there's no one at Marvel who you think of as these are the guys you go to if you're going to learn what the fuck you're doing as a superhero.
Gotcha.
It never sticks because mostly at Marvel the idea is let's make a super team and see if it catches on.
Yeah.
Right? But they're not using the idea that we've been around for so long and we can tell the world, the universe and the world's changed. We won't be around forever. Someone's got to school the kids. The JSA, that's their role, right? They've seen themselves recreated in other universes.
Yeah.
They've seen themselves recreated in their universe, right? Like as younger folks.
Yeah.
And if you think about it in a meta sense, think about non-DC comics and times in which you'd have been reading them or comics you've read that weren't DC, in which heroes were just constantly screaming and just throwing powers around and just breaking shit like nobody's business. And you could think of a time in which that didn't happen. Imagine the JSA sees that and says, all right, if we don't do something now, disaster's going to happen.
Yeah.
Right? Like the reason Civil War in Marvel Comics kicks off is because basically the New Warriors go chasing a villain and they blow up some town in Connecticut or some shit, right? The whole town gets all fucked up. So now we need superhero registration.
That guy was on super steroids and blew up.
So like now we need hero registration, and then we got to have pro-hero registration heroes and anti-registration heroes. We got to have a big old fight about it, right?
Yeah.
From the JSA's point of view, we can stop all that from happening if we just commit right now to schooling these kids up. So it becomes Wildcat discovers his son's got powers.
That's so funny.
Or he discovers he has a son and his son has powers. Bring him on in. Let's train him up.
Is Wildcat the boxer?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He didn't know he had a son, but then when he found out he did, they were definitely estranged and they were not going to be working together. But they brought that kid in. Yeah. Right? He transformed into a fucking puma or something. Because of course boxers who get chicks pregnant make pumas. Look, I don't know, but this is what happened.
Yeah.
But also like there were other characters that fit this mold too. There was like a character who was basically from the lineage of Red Tornado.
Well, and like you said with Batman. Never mind. Batman is not a good example, but I was going to say
might be.
that the like passing down a mantle.
Yeah.
So so that makes a lot more sense because like I think one of the first
Stargirl was in this group because she's basically coming from they're considering it from the Starman tree, right? So it's Ted Knight Starman, down to like there's a Jack Knight Starman, but it didn't really matter. It was like the Ted Knight Starman to like the Star Spangled Kid, the Stargirl. That's kind of the way we were going in that route.
I don't know who Starman is.
Starman, you'll see him in some DC books. It'll be like a dude wears a red suit, got a green cape, got a big star on a white star on his chest, and has like one of those Centurion helmet thingies, and he's carrying like a golden rod. You know, it's the cosmic rod.
Okay.
So she's got like a cosmic staff thingy.
Gotcha.
You know?
Okay.
So they were making all these parallels between the new generation of characters and the JSA. The JSA was taking them out and training them, and it was like Mr. Terrific. So it was the second Mr. Terrific.
Yeah.
He was the leader of the team, Michael Holt. He was a fantastic character, and it was like
Hey.
Atom Smasher was like the new iteration of the Atom, basically of the Golden Age Atom, and he grew.
Yeah.
You know, he's in the Black Adam movie, right? He grew. That was his thing. So like there was a lot of like characters who were definitely legacy characters for Golden Age characters, and they worked really well. And the book was about how to get them to work well, right?
I think that's I mean, since I don't know that much about the JSA, that's way more interesting to know that the JSA is more like the school, whereas the Avengers
your best
like
allegory for it in Marvel would be like there was a point in which it was thought that the X-Men would be training up a new generation of like folks to be, you know, mutant heroes or whatever. But usually when it happens with the X-Men, they quickly separate the X-Men from the young folks who are mutants, and then the young folks who are mutants are effectively on their own.
Yeah.
Right? They get like Kitty Pryde as a teacher. So now they have a teacher, but they don't have 6 mentors for the 6 of them, and they're doing shit together.
And that's how, like, I mean, even the Jonathan did he write? Was Hickman the one who did the
House of X Powers of 10?
The most recent one? Yeah. Like the whole Krakoa thing, they were like, there was the whole New Mutants and the War College were like the learning branches of Krakoa, and I was like, oh, this could be really cool.
Yeah.
And then it just like was it not focused on that.
If the X-Men were gonna do it properly, what they would probably do is they'd make an X-Men team that would be based on the previous X-Men. I would take the X-Men and the New Mutants, right, and I would make a team of X-Men combined of those, and then in that book, I'd put 5
OG
younger characters, right, New Mutant type new folks, right, who would have basically been thrown onto the team because the best learning is learning on the job.
Yeah.
But since the other through line of the X-Men is someone is always worried these kids are going to get hurt out there, right? They don't do it because the world is just so fucking tough. You go out there and get murdered by Sentinels. Then they send the Sentinels to your house. Yeah. So what was the difference?
I feel like one of the through lines for the X-Men is just that they're fucked at the end of the day. Like,
and because Marvel's a company of tragedy, they kind of have to be fucked at the end of the day. But if they're going to be fucked at the end of the day, then why are we making those kids go to school in Louisiana? They must always stay on the farm, right?
Yeah.
And then these guys get to go off into space and be really fucking cool. But then because they're off in space being cool, we need another group of cool guys who get to have an office in New York, like Batman's fucking penthouse, and they get to be cool. But then, okay, we are going to train some kids. Those kids now got to be trained secretly in Albuquerque, New Mexico, right? And then hopefully everybody just stays in line and nobody like goes out and has any fun. But now they got to go have fun.
Split. Yeah.
Yeah. So like the cool thing about Krakoa was everyone's in the same place.
Yeah.
Effectively, right? So if you do come and attack Krakoa, you might have to deal with Wolverine and Hank McCoy and Warren Worthington and Sunspot and Cannonball and Armor. And then 5 young folks might be around who the readers get to see sometimes. But that won't be a constant, right? That won't be something that is consistent over, say, 60 issues.
Yeah.
They move the storylines around so that you can see the characters who went into the capsule to fight with the children of the future or whatever the fuck they were called,
the children of the vault.
Yeah, them,
yeah,
right? Like,
yeah.
They'll do things like that but it's because someone gave an order that said we need you to go on a mission.
Yeah.
Not because someone said we're gonna live together and work together and we're gonna give you on the job training.
You know what? Yeah, I guess now that you say that, I didn't even thinking about it. They really didn't even spend a lot of time
in the Avengers.
On Krakoa.
The Avengers are always usually a core group, and then some newer characters who get to be the point of view characters. The new characters are us.
Yeah.
Best example of this is The best example, most recent, I guess, that I can point to easily is when Kurt Busiek and George Perez were doing the Avengers in the late 90s, early 2000s, and they added triathlon and silverclaw to the team, right? And you may be saying, who the fuck are triathlon and silverclaw?
Yeah.
Great. Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Triathlon was basically
Triathlon could swim, run, and bike.
He was basically a new iteration of the 3D man. He could do everything any other human can do, but 3 times better.
Okay.
Don't even think about it too hard.
Okay.
Right? Everything a human could do, he could do, but he was 3 times stronger, 3 times faster, 3 times smarter, whatever the fuck, right?
Okay.
In Jed McKay's Avengers run, he comes back as a villain, but there's a plot
like
twist.
the Avengers run right now?
Yeah. He's helping the Orcus team, the Orcus evil dudes. He's their security chief because he knows the Avengers inside and out, and he's thinking of things that MODOK hasn't thought of because he's 3 times smarter.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
They bring it home at the end of the storyline.
Okay.
Right, in a way that actually
is that the first arc?
I don't know. They're all rough. Jed McKay has the talent to make every arc exactly the same, so it's it's difficult to tell whether this is recent. This is right before Blood Hunt started.
Oh, okay.
Right
So then, yeah, because I was reading. I think I might have read the first issue, and I was like, oh, this is okay. Like, I literally collected the whole issue before that, so I was like, whatever the next Avengers run is, I'm not going to follow it.
Yeah.
Like, I will probably, like, read a little bit of it, but I'm not going to follow it. And so it's been the Jed McKay one. But there was the huge tie-in with Blood Hunt, and now Storm is going to be on the Avengers. So
Storm is joined. Yep. Right. So that was the point. There was they let Triathlon and Silverclaw join because they knew they needed to on-the-job train younger generations of heroes, and why not these two who'd help them out in some fights and shit.
Yeah.
And fuck it. Yeah, don't go home, guys. Stick around.
Yeah.
You're on the team, right? So the point of view character's job is to walk around the Avengers and be like, holy shit.
Who's this?
Thor's a god, and holy
What's
crap, that's
that?
really Captain America, and oh man, Iron Man sure got a lot of suits of armor laying around. You know, like they have to say the things we're thinking.
Yeah.
Right? And then it gets the mainline characters a chance to open up and be human.
Okay.
Right? Like they have to start talking to these characters instead of the usual sniping that they do with each other.
Yeah.
Right? So
because they've saved the world so many times, they're like,
yeah, they fucking hate each other,
Yeah,
right? But like, you got to put that aside because Youngin is looking up at you like, okay, how do we do this? Who's Kang?
Because we got Robbie Reyes over here who can't control his shit.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, this kind of stuff would happen, right? It would happen in. A minute ago, I thought of a different Marvel book where a similar thing, or I think even maybe just a different book in general, where a similar thing had happened. Because the idea is, it was the another Avengers era. It was when
Avengers Academy.
Avengers Academy is a good one, except that the Avengers Academy was Avengers Academy. That's close to like the way the New Mutants were, right? In which they were.
It was like this group off on the side.
Young
where the
dudes
Avengers
learning.
would
They're being trained by a couple of Avengers, right? But they're the Academy. Wherever the Avengers are, they're not going with them.
Yeah.
Right? In the Legion of Superheroes, the new guy goes with. Right?
Gotcha.
In the JSA, the new kids go with. Right? It might be like, hey, Courtney, you have homework. You got a term paper due. You can't go on this adventure.
Shit, I gotta do fucking field tactics 104 fucking.
Because some of these characters were actually still in school, right?
Yeah.
They had secret identities. They were in school, so no, you can't go off to Mars with us.
That's why I kind of
You got homework.
That's why I kind of dug the 2000s X-Men cartoons.
Yeah.
Because they placed them in high school. And I'm like, oh man, yeah, these kids are just like me. Except I was not even close to high school, and I was just like, but I've gone back and rewatched it, and I was like, that is like the school version of superheroes. I think is like an interesting take that could be done.
It's
well.
always a trope that should work.
Yeah.
Right. You should let it breathe.
Yeah.
Right. It should work.
Like what's it? Ultimate Spider-Man.
Yes.
Like that was I mean, since seeing the Sam Raimi Spider-Man, I was like, oh my God, Spider-Man's so cool. And I've heard that Ultimate run is like very much teenage Peter Parker.
Yes.
And that is like really I've heard it's a good run. So
It is a good run.
That's one that I'm gonna be working on. But where was I? Oh God, you just like have dropped so many gems that there's like so many threads I could pull at. You said Marvel is the house of tragedy.
Yeah, I mean, at its core, that's what it was. They had to have tragic hooks. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they weren't writing for children, right? They were writing for teenagers and college kids. So yeah, they needed something that separated them from what DC was doing. So their audience was skewed a little older.
So if Marvel is the house of tragedy, what would you say DC is?
They're the house of legacy, the house of like paragons. All the DC's mainline characters are generally not to paraphrase the way Wolverine uses it, they're basically the best at what they do. So they are like Green Lantern is going to be this ultimate paragon of
authority.
Good versus no, it's not even authority, right? I mean, they made him a space cop, but the idea is he doesn't give up. Right? He can't give up, right? He has to. I like when he's written in this. It's the problem with Hal Jordan is he's not actually interesting himself, right? He goes to interesting places.
He's a boring person.
He goes to interesting places and he knows lots of interesting people, but he himself is not interesting, right? But for a while, his thing was the not give up thing.
Yeah.
Right? Because as a Green Lantern, it is will that powers his ring. Yeah. So his will has to be the strongest that there is. Right? But it's similar to where nobody could pick up Thor's hammer except it turns out in that movie they let Captain America do it. It was always theorized Cap could. Yeah. Right? But Cap could because Cap is worthy to do it.
Yeah.
Right? Who would have enough willpower to wield Green Lantern's ring? Nobody, probably but Superman. And that's kind of the way it ought to be.
And what about Batman?
And then Batman is the world's greatest detective.
Gotcha.
Right? He just is. He is the world's greatest. There's no greater detective than him. It is proven out so much in a story which I can't stand, Identity Crisis. There's one panel that lets you know how good Batman is as a detective. He's not even in the fucking scene. It's Nightwing who's in the scene.
Okay.
Because something has happened in some warehouse, and all the heroes are in the warehouse looking for clues. Flash is zipping all around and shit. And they show Nightwing on a stack of crates, and he's looking in a window. And I remember seeing this scene and thinking, the motherfucker trained by the world's greatest detective won't even walk in the warehouse. Yeah. Ain't no clues in there. You know what I mean? Like, that's how good a detective Batman must be. He's trained Nightwing, and Nightwing's standing outside looking in like, nah,
they're looking in the wrong place. I think that is so. I've always had this like fascination with Batman, and I mean, I feel like that is just like so many people. Batman is just badass.
Sure.
But I feel like lately, because I've like read this much Batman. I read like the trade that you suggested, and I read Year One. Okay. I've read maybe like three or four Batman trades. But I feel like lately I've been so interested in Nightwing.
Okay.
Okay. I know you said you wouldn't do parallels. Who would you say is the Marvel parallel to Nightwing? Humor me.
So
Mike,
I can give you Marvel's parallel to Batman. Nightwing's a little harder.
Okay,
because the one thing that Marvel didn't do until very recently is Marvel didn't do legacy. Mm-hmm. Right? Marvel didn't directly say character A is no longer going to have it, and so we're going to pass the mantle to somebody else, and then let that person actually run with it. Right?
Yeah.
So that's not really something they did. Like Iron Man did pass the mantle down to Rhodey before he was War Machine. That happened when we first did Demon in a Bottle. It's Rhodey who's in the Iron Man suit, but nobody knows it's Rhodey, right? So he's pretending that he's Tony Stark while he's in the suit because nobody knew Iron Man was Tony Stark, right? That's an example of where Tony was having a problem, somebody stepped in to be him, and it was similar to Batman getting his back broken and Azrael taking over as Batman, right? But this is temporary.
Yes.
Right? This is temporary.
Okay.
There's not a lot of examples at Marvel where somebody at Marvel says, I'm out, that's it. You do it now.
Yeah.
And then even if the original guy goes back, the secondary guy is doing it. Currently, Sam Wilson is doing this. He is currently also Captain America.
Yeah.
Or he's Falcon Cap or whatever the fuck you want to call him, right? Like
Cap with wings.
That is a case in which Captain America said a couple of times now, Sam, it's you, run with it. It's you do it.
Yeah.
Right? He did it to Bucky too. Winter Soldier at one point was Captain America because they thought Cap was dead. Mm-hmm. Right? That was a clear case where it happened. But after Cap came back, Bucky just went back to being Winter Soldier.
Gotcha.
Right? Sam's still flying around with his damn wings looking more like the Falcon than looking like Captain America. Marvel has a hard time literally passing the ball.
Yeah.
And then getting the first guy off the stage.
Yes.
I have a hard time doing that. But Marvel's Batman is Moon Knight. It is a direct allegory. He's meant to be Batman.
Yeah.
Right? He's meant to be that.
Rich playboy.
Yeah, well, because they gave him multiple personalities, of which one of whom is rich.
Yes.
Right? That was to mimic Batman's perceived psychosis. Right?
Oh my gosh.
He has his Moon Knight crescent copter thing. He's got a butler assistant who's not really a butler, but kind of like a assistant dude.
Frenchie.
Yeah, he's got that. Like, there's a lot of shit that was designed to be Batmanable, but he didn't have a sidekick.
Yeah,
he didn't have a partner. He was training up. Like currently, you can say that there's a whole bunch of guys in the Midnight Mansion who can technically be that.
Yeah,
right. But it's not really the same thing.
Yeah,
you know.
So okay, so then what would you say is like defines Nightwing's character, because he's Richard Grayson?
Yeah.
Okay, so he's Dick Grayson. He was the Robin in Teen Titans.
Well, he was Robin. Period. Yep.
Yeah, he was.
Yep, he was the first Robin.
He was the first Robin. Oh, okay, so he was the first Robin.
Yeah.
I thought what's his name? Who was Right Hood?
That's the second Robin.
Red Hood.
Second Robin.
He was the second Robin. Okay. Okay, so he's the first Robin. Did he start the Titans? Or he started
technically the Titans start the same. They all they meet each other and start together.
Gotcha.
And it's like Wonder Girl, Robin, Kid Flash, and I think Speedy or Aqualad, one of the two of them. Probably.
Okay, so he's a founding member of the Titans.
Yep.
He's Batman's protege, sidekick.
Sure. Yep, partner.
Does he doesn't have any powers. He's just a gymnast and
correct. And
trained by Batman.
In the Batman and Robin comic, in which they believe Batman is dead and Dick Grayson has taken over as Batman, Alfred explains to him and effectively to us that they will not be the same kind of Batman. Right? It was a problem where Dick thought he and Damian were failing, fighting villains and protecting Gotham, because he was getting his ass handed to him. And he's getting his ass handed to him. He was trying to fight like Batman fights. And Alfred had to explain, Batman's not a natural gymnast. Right? He doesn't, you and he don't fight the same way. You don't move the same way.
Yeah.
Use your talents and your techniques and your skills to be Batman. And then you'll be a better Batman. And then once he did that, it was on. Right? Using the cape as a balance, as like a counterbalance, like doing like things that would work for an acrobat, he started doing.
Have you read is it Tom Taylor? Tom Taylor is doing the most recent
Nightwing?
Nightwing run.
Some of it.
That I feel like that's what's been coming out recently,
sure,
and I feel like I've been paying attention to comics. Yeah, I would say the past couple of years.
Yeah.
Would you say that that's like a pretty solid run?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Because I was looking
Nightwing
at
for a long time has had good comics.
Oh, okay, cool.
Right. Nightwing's been a top character and a very good seller for a long time.
Okay, so
a lot of people grew up loving this character, and he's not often treated wrong.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Cool. So Nightwing is... Where would you suggest jumping in?
For Nightwing?
Yeah.
I don't know. Find any Nightwing's run of trade to start at one that says Volume 1.
Oh.
Like you could start with the Tom Taylor stuff if you want to.
Yeah.
That's perfectly fine. Yeah, that's a great place to start. But there's previous runs, too, that are also all good.
Yeah.
Right? You know,
so I'm asking, like...
I wouldn't say, like, the problem with going back to the 90s runs, not everything's in print. So you'll end up with a Volume 1 of a thing and a Volume 3 of a thing, right? Like, not a Volume 2. So, like, that's kind of frustrating.
Yeah.
You know, if it were all in print, I'd be like, you really need to read his 90s shit. Because that was where they really put him on and, like, let him do his thing.
Do you ever read digital comics? Or are you...
Sure, a lot of times.
Okay.
Because like, my comics aren't all in order.
Yeah.
So if I want to reread something and the trade of it isn't close at hand, it's harder to go through my boxes to figure out where those comics are.
Especially with how deep your collection is, I'm sure you couldn't be...
It'll be like I have a hard drive with a lot of comics on them.
Gotcha.
Right? And as long as... what I've done is I've collected like my favorites to save on a hard drive, and then I'll just go ahead and, throw those on a tablet and read those. And then when I'm done reading those, I, save them back to the hard, or delete them from the tablet and put more things on the tablet.
Yeah.
But not like, I don't do this with like current comics per se, because current comics are still, I can still.
Right. You could buy them.
Right. But if I want to read, let's say I want to read, if I want to read like Alien Legion, right? Like one of the comics that I have in this stack. If I want to read that old school Alien Legion content, I can take it from the hard drive, put it on my tablet, read 50 issues of it over a week or two, and be thrilled doing that.
Yeah.
Right. And not have to dig up all the issues I've got and then, go on to something else. And I'll do that. I'll be like, and it's mostly for reading old school. Like I read a couple years ago, I did like the whole New Mutants run. Then I did Starman. Then I did certain era of the X-Men. You just, because I want to read long form.
Yeah.
I'll do that on a tablet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I've been talking with people a lot recently about tablet or like Kindle versus like a tablet or like an e-reader, and I don't know. I like reading on a tablet, but I mean, there's
it's also one like a lot of times I'm reading late at night. I'm in bed, right? Like
the ease of it is like is unbeatable.
Yeah, yeah.
But there's also just like there's something about a
sure,
single issue,
acquiring a single issue. Yes,
or like a trade, a book.
But that's a different skill, right?
Yeah.
So like one is I need to read it, but I'm not. I don't have the time to invest to find it, but I know where it is, right? Like if I want to watch, if I want to watch a movie, let's say, right?
Yeah.
Right. My DVDs are right here. I can do that. Yeah. That is easy to do. But
do you have an extensive DVD collection too?
I have a DVD collection. I don't know how extensive it is because I feel like at this point everyone has an extensive. If you're my age, you have an extensive DVD.
That's
collection,
that.
Right.
Yeah.
But if I wanted to watch all the Aliens movies,
yeah.
What if they're not all? What if only 1 in 4 are in my living room at any given time, and the others are in a box in the basement?
Yeah.
Right. Well, shit. It'd be good if I had all the Aliens movies on a hard drive.
Yeah.
And I can just like.
I want to eventually...
everything I have on my tablet or on my hard drive I own physically,
Yeah.
right? So like,
okay.
My question is just how then do I like
fill the gaps?
Yes.
Gotcha.
How can I access it in order to like make use of this right now?
Yeah.
Because it is an entirely different project for me to alphabetize everything I have in my comic book collection.
Fuck, I can't even.
I'm just not gonna.
I could not even imagine.
I did it for putting all of my Primo comics together.
Yeah.
For like convention season, right? When I want to go, when I know I'm going to cons. And
oh my God, we literally didn't even. That's where I wanted to start.
We'll do that next. When I'm going to cons and I want to like, I want to know I'm going to acquire things. I go through the boxes at the top of my comic book boxes.
Yeah.
Because everything on the top is all my coolest shit.
Yeah.
Alphabetized.
The shit that you wanna reach for.
That is A to Z, right? Mm-hmm. And even though there's a lot of Justice League of America comics in the other boxes,
yeah,
for the era in which I'm trying to actively finish, those are up top.
Gotcha.
So then I know, okay, cool. I just need these, right? So when I go home, when I get around to actually cataloging, I can put these comics with the ones they're all likely to be on top.
Yeah.
Yeah, easy enough.
Throw on an album and just alphabetize.
Yeah. That is an easier thing for me to do right now. But it's also like that just means that, let's say, on top of this pile here is Justice League number. What the fuck number is that? That is where they put it. Number 97. Mm-hmm. So if I wanted to read JLA
96,
75 through 100, let's say, they should be in the top set of boxes. But if I wanted to go from 75 through 175, they're not all in the top boxes, probably.
Gotcha.
Some of them are in other boxes and not necessarily in alphabetical order. So then, or numerical order even, not even in the same damn box. So now it is easy for me to go to my hard drive, one of my external hard drives, that I know there's a bunch of Justice League of America on, throw that onto the tablet and just read it.
Gotcha. Oh my God, that sounds like crazy. That sounds like I mean, I still, like, I can't even picture... What'd you say, 6,300 or 63?
How many comics I have?
Yeah, or 63.
Probably about 60,000.
60,000. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Damn.
Roughly. So, I mean, it could be less, but like it's still a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a gigantic round number.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't even have, I've seen people that I follow on the internet and social media who have collections much more extensive than mine and much better put together than mine. And I'm always like, I need a house.
Yeah.
Like these people own homes. They've got attics that are dedicated to this.
They got the weather treated rooms,
shelving. Like this shelving changes everything.
Shelving
right?
does.
Shelving changes everything. Just to be able to put short boxes on sturdy shelves around an entire large section of your house.
Yeah.
On multiple levels. Okay, now we're alphabetizing, right? I'll see you in the winter, honey. I'm going downstairs.
I really want to organize these, but I don't. I every time I
That's cake.
Yeah,
You can have that's 2 hours of work right there, tops.
this is not. Yeah, this is an afternoon, and I have different ways of how I organize them, and I think, actually, I got one last sip.
Okay.
And
we're
you
gonna
just
talk about comics from the
just
convention.
yawned, so I think we wrap this one up.
Okay.
And we can. We really only have like one more episode for the month.
Okay.
So we'll be back with our finale. Cheers. Cheers. Cheers.